Hi, welcome back. My name's Tristan Weiss, and I'm here with the Miami Valley Veterans Museum, presenting Valley Veterans, and I'm here with Staff Sergeant Michael DeHart, also known as Mick. Hi, Mick.
Tristan.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk about one of the firefights in particular that you found yourself in Vietnam. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's the one
that's
my
the
family
one.
refers to as the big one.
The big one. All right.
And but it.
So what can you tell me what led up to it, the morning of?
Well, what had happened is a plane had flown over an area in Vietnam and had noticed a big bundle outside of a.
What do you mean
fort.
by bundle?
Well, as it trickled on down to us, it was about the size of 2 bales of hay. The old style bales, 4 feet high, maybe 4 feet square. I mean, it's a big bundle.
So surveillance aircraft saw something of interest.
Yes. So my platoon, being a recon platoon, we were given the operations order to go out the next day and investigate. So.
And when was this, Mick?
This would have been April 10th of '69. And we were working out of LZ Ike at the time, and which LZ Ike sit right on the road or highway, if you will, running north and south, and which irritated the North Vietnamese.
And what part of Vietnam was LZ Ike in?
Probably, 3 mile from the Cambodian border. It's going to be on the west side of Vietnam, about 2/3 of the way down. And very hot area at the time as far as enemy activity. First Cav was very busy.
And what was the environment like around there?
It would alternate. I mean, you could be in thick foliage and what you might call a forest, but it would have like a triple canopy, which means it had 3 different layers of the trees, and if you were in triple canopy, nobody's going to see you from the sky. You just couldn't penetrate it. And other times we might be in an open area walking and then walk right into another forest, if you will.
And LZ Ike was in one of those open areas?
Yeah, when they made an LZ, the cab would just come in and they had these big helicopters and they just bring in a bulldozer or 2 and clear an area, An LZ generally was probably as wide as a couple football fields. Big enough for helicopters to land on, big enough to have 105 howitzers, which was a big cannon, 155s, even bigger cannon, and they would have bunkers all the way around the outside of the LZ. And other than that, it was just dirt.
And that's where you were operating from? Mm-hmm. All right. So how many guys did you have in your platoon that day?
Roughly right around 22, I think. We were inserted in the mid-morning into an area, and we did a little walking around, and then we found the bundle.
All right. So how were you inserted, Mick?
By chopper, depending on the weather as to how many we could put in a chopper. That day we used 6 choppers to insert 22 guys. And we were loaded down, not so much with our backpacks, but we were carrying a lot of ammo that day for some reason.
Don't know why you had all the ammo that day?
Don't really know. I even carried a a belt of M60 ammo, which, I was a platoon sergeant. I didn't carry ammo, but that day, for some reason. And
A lot better than the mortar plate, right?
yes, absolutely. And but we had plenty of ammo. To jump ahead real quick, when we came back in from that day, the M60, which is a lightweight machine gun, all of that ammo was gone. And you figure every man in the platoon was probably carrying a belt, some of them carrying two. Belts kind of like you see in the movies, a bunch of bullets around your chest. And but when we came in, you turned those weapons in, and the log man, later became a real good friend of mine, Robert, was amazed because there was no ammo turned in. And he said, of the grenade launchers we carried, there was no ammo turned back in. We'd expended it all, and so anyhow, I jumped ahead there, but
That's all right. So whenever you were inserted by helicopter, were they landing? Were you jumping off of them?
no, we landed. We tended to land if we could. Nobody gets thrilled when they have to jump out of a helicopter from, anywhere from 6 to 10 feet. That, hard on the ankles. But we got inserted, found the bundle, which initially they thought it was rice. Turned out to be salt, which indicated an extremely large enemy force for that much salt.
And why was salt important?
Well, they used it for everything, to preserve their food and to eat and all that. Had it been rice, it wouldn't have been a whole lot of rice for a large company, But since it was salt, that was a lot of salt.
All right. So how long did it take you from the time you got off the chopper to the time you found the bundles?
Well, we did a little recon of the area, and I'm looking back, guessing probably we got outside the tree line around noon, in between noon and 1 o'clock. And then we were ordered to go on into the tree line and see what we could find. So we started down, walking through the trees, and it's kind of rough going in the beginning. And then we, all of a sudden, we came upon an area, probably, I want to say 20 feet wide, and it probably ran for 60 feet. Old memory at work here. And they had cut all of the trees in that area off about 3 feet high. And, I didn't know if they were trying to make an expressway or what. And then later on, we come upon their bunker complex, in other words, where they were hanging out. And it was a pretty big area. And strangely, and I'm not sure if I ever knew, they had dug down about 3 feet and excavated a large area, 3 feet below the surface of the ground. And within that area is where they basically lived, because we came upon their sleeping gear, we came upon their food, their supplies, we came upon ammo, we came upon weapons. Okay, nobody home, but it's quite obvious they had been there because food was warm, latrine, or bathroom recently used. So we knew we had, quite a few people in the area, and we thought we would get called back and picked up, and but we were told to press on and to go on. So we moved on through the woods, knowing full well that somebody was in there besides us. And so we moved along, and all of a sudden we came upon a large bomb crater. Big hole in the ground. Big hole. Probably, 50 feet across, 20 feet deep. This big hole in the ground, a big mound of dirt all the way around it, 4 and 5 feet high, just like you would imagine an explosion. And we came up to that, and the point squad was being led by Sergeant Leon Ziegler. Second squad was Sergeant Gary Andall. Third squad was Sergeant Warren Bellisle. I was the platoon sergeant, and I was walking in the rear with my radio man and the medic, and of course the platoon leader was up front with his radio. Well, he was more to the middle of the platoon. So we came upon the bomb crater, and here is the most fascinating thing about it in light of what happened afterwards. We had a choice to go to the left around that bomb crater, or we had a choice to go to the right. So we went to the right. And if you can picture the bomb crater, and we went around to the right. Well, as the lead squad, Leon Ziegler's squad, got around almost to the far side of that bomb crater, the enemy opened up on his squad. Here again, we had surprised them. They did not have time to, set a real good ambush. They set up a hasty, kind of an L-shaped ambush, and they opened up on Sergeant Ziegler's squad. They initially shot the point man Fetters, shot him in the head. He did not die, and was later went home, but he had some damage to his head. And Sergeant Ziegler called me on my radio and said for me to come forward with the medic. I wanted to tell him I didn't make house calls, but he was.
So how far apart were you?
I'm not great at distances. By the time he got around the bomb crater, probably 30 to 40 yards, And because like I said, the bomb crater was probably 50 feet across, and we're going around the outside of it. So anyhow, I moved forward with my radio man and the medic, Doc Huckabee, and I covered for him as he moved forward, and he got to Sergeant Ziegler and the wounded man. The wounded man had an M60. I picked it up, and I went down into the bomb crater, and I ordered the guys on that side to come into the bomb crater. So basically, I had a little bit of the first squad sticking out, and I had a little bit of the third squad sticking out on the back side. The rest of us were in the bomb crater. Doc Huckabee worked on Fetters, got him bandaged up, and for reasons unknown to any of us, felt led to pick him up to move him. And when he did that, he took one through the chest, and he died instantly. So Sergeant Ziegler and a couple of his guys had to stay where they were. We're down, the rest of us are down inside that bomb crater. We actually went to the far side and we're using it like a big foxhole, firing on the enemy. And it was kind of advantageous in as much as we had that big mound around, because we were shooting down and they had to shoot up, which gave us a better field of fire than they had. And we exchanged pleasantries for a good while, and then things are going on. The forward observer, the FO, who is assigned to the platoon from an artillery company, he called in artillery. Okay, those 105s we talked about on the LZ would fire on the enemy, and that could be tricky because we were kind of on gun target line. And what that means is we were here, the enemy was here, and the guns are here. So, they're firing into the enemy, but if they fired a little farther, they would be on us. But he was on that day. He did a fantastic job. And then still didn't break their backs. We called in the gunbirds, called Cobras, which is a two-seater helicopter, pilot, co-pilot. They'd set, back to belly, and but they're loaded with a lot of firepower, and it's a very maneuverable helicopter. So 2 of those came in to help us, and they would come between us and the enemy, and they would fire upon the enemy. We would be to their left as they came in, so they're firing to the right. And they have miniguns, which is an extremely fast automatic weapon. Has a cyclic rate somewhere 3,500, 4,000 rounds a minute. Puts out a lot of damage. And machine gun rounds are held together by metal links, so when it's fired, the link falls off, and you have the empty brass cartridge falls away. Well, those choppers came in. They were so low and so close to us that the links from those expended cartridges were falling on us. Of course, we had steel pots on, but some of those links, and they're warm because, they just popped off of a fired bullet, and some of those links were falling on the necks of the guys, which was just a slight burn. Some of them probably didn't even notice it because they were so busy.
So in a matter of a few minutes of reaching this bomb crater, you had 1 person injured, 1 person killed. You're in the bomb crater, and you have artillery coming in that's basically firing directly at you, just short, and helicopters just hovering right over your head. What was going through your mind, Mick?
I knew I wasn't in Kansas anymore. And it sounds weird, and I told this story a few times, So anyhow, when it was all going on, and I know this sounds strange, when it was all going on, you're trained when you go through the military. You're trained at whatever your occupational specialty is. You're trained. And I was trained as an NCO. Okay, as a non-commissioned officer, I was trained. And in these situations, I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. And I was just busy doing what I was supposed to do.
And what was that, Mick?
Making sure my guys had platoon sergeants like a mother hen sometimes. Making sure they had ammo, water, and their morale was up, which that was the trick. And but these guys are trained too. Okay, they know what they're supposed to be doing. They know how to use that weapon that's in their hands. Okay, they know how to use it efficiently. Okay, you didn't put your M16 on full automatic and shoot 18 rounds in 3 seconds. That's a waste of good ammunition. No, they were doing bursts. They were doing what they were trained to do. So we were giving as good as we were taking. We had the grenade launchers. Okay, those were, pumping out, rounds, which is like throwing a hand grenade a good distance. The machine guns. Here again, we're doing bursts. They weren't just squeezing the trigger and holding on for dear life. And but after the gunbirds went through, it looked like it was going to get tricky, because normally the enemy didn't like to break or hang around once they made contact. They liked to harass you for a while, do what damage they could, and then get out of Dodge, because they know the artillery's coming, the gunbirds. Well, those had came and gone, and the enemy was still there. And so they were going to make a rush. And they had been maneuvering to do such. And I had picked up one of the machine guns. And
Mick, before we go on with this, I just want to make sure I'm understanding the scene. So you have the gunbirds, you have grenades going off, you have men positioned around the bomb crater, and you're moving back and forth inside this crater, distributing ammo, water, checking on the troops. And while all this chaos is going on, and you said you were trained for this. Were you though? I mean, is this really what you were trained for?
Well, I'm not sure, where you're going there. Like I said, when you're the platoon sergeant, these were my people. It fell to me to, take care of them. And that's the reason I said, I was preoccupied. Didn't have time to stop and think, boy, I'm in deep doo-doo here. Okay. That would come later. And then it looked like, they were going to make a run at us, and that's when it got nitty-gritty. So
what did you do then?
I had a young Mexican fellow, Jesus Santiago Duran, had an M60, and I had him go to the left. I took an M60, and I had Truman Washington, another machine gunner. He was supporting us on the right, and we basically moved our way towards the top of the bunker and started putting some heavy fire on them.
So you exposed yourself along with a couple other soldiers to give cover so people could...
Didn't realize that until later on.
Doing the mother hen work.
Yeah. And but anyhow, it did, I don't care who you are. You get 3 M60s pointing at you, you don't want to raise up your head. The enemy also knew that ultimately there was going to be some, they knew our tactics as well as we did. They knew there was going to be some fast movers coming in. In other words, jets, okay? And they knew they carried some ugly stuff. So they started breaking contact, okay, because we could hear on the radio that the choppers, the battalion commander was upstairs in his chopper watching, and we knew they were leaving the area. And so at that time we we broke contact, and
So breaking contact, you left the bomb crater, got picked up?
yeah, we, unbeknownst to us, we were probably
All right.
10 yards from the edge of that tree line. So as soon as we hit that, we were out in the open.
All right. Okay, Mick, that's all the time we have right now. Thank you for sharing this part of your story. And we'll cover it, other aspects of your service again.
Thank you.